Captain Jin Ko looked out at the stars through the bridge windows of the cargo ship Persistence. The ship was big and strong, carrying 2,000 people who wanted to start new lives on New Terra. These people had sold everything they owned to buy tickets for this trip. They trusted Jin to get them there safely. "Captain, the jump coordinates are ready," said Navigator Bo-Ra. She was young, but very good at her job. Jin had worked with her for 3 years, and she never made mistakes. Jin nodded. "Good. How are our passengers doing? They're excited, sir? Many families with children. The medical bay is full of supplies for the colony. Dr. Lee says these medicines will save many lives." Jin smiled. This was why he loved his job. Every trip meant helping people build better lives. He'd been flying cargo ships for 15 years, and trips like this still made him happy. "Captain Bo-Ra's voice changed. She sounded worried. "Detecting ships approaching us. 3 of them, moving fast." Jin's smile disappeared. "What kind of ships? Zellan patrol vessels, sir? Military class?" "They're coming straight for us." Jin knew about the Zellans. They were a powerful alien race that controlled most of the space lanes between planets. They stopped human ships often, claiming they needed to check cargo and papers. Most times they just took some supplies and let the ships go. But Jin had heard stories of ships that never made it to their destinations. "Open communications," Jin ordered. The main screen showed Admiral Vex Crane, a tall Zellan with gray skin and cold yellow eyes. His uniform was decorated with many medals. "Human vessel. This is Admiral Crane of the Zellan Empire. You will stop your engines and prepare for inspection." "Understood, Admiral." "This is Captain Jin Ko of the cargo ship Persistence. We're carrying colonists and medical supplies to New Terra. All our papers are in order." Admiral Crane's eyes seemed to study. "Jin, carefully. Will provide us with your navigation data and complete cargo lists. We must inspect your ship's technology." Something in the Admiral's voice made Jin nervous. "Of course, Admiral. We're happy to cooperate." But as Jin watched the Zellan ships move around them, he realized something was wrong. The 3 ships were not positioning themselves for a normal inspection. They were surrounding the Persistence, like hunters surrounding prey. Jin had served in the Earth's military before becoming a cargo captain. He knew attack formations when he saw them. The Zellan ships were getting ready to fire, not to inspect. He said quietly, "Start recording everything. Send a continuous data stream back to Earth Command. Something is very wrong here." Bo's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Recording started, Captain. Data stream is active." Admiral Crane's voice came over the radio again. "Captain Ko, we require immediate access to your fusion drive technology. This is not a request." Jin's blood turned cold. The fusion drives were Earth's newest technology. They made human ships faster than anything else in space. If the Zellans wanted that technology, they would kill everyone on the ship to get it. "Admiral, we cannot give you our drive technology. It's protected by Earth military law." "Then you have chosen your fate," Admiral Crane said. The communication channel closed. Jin could see the Zellan weapons charging up. Bright energy was building in their gun ports. They were going to destroy the Persistence and everyone on it. "Bo, send an emergency message to Earth Command right now." Jin grabbed the communication microphone. He had to warn Earth about what was happening. "Earth Command, this is Captain Jin Ko of the Persistence. The Zellans are not here for a normal inspection. They want our fusion drive technology. They're positioning to attack us. This is not an accident. They're going to the first plasma beam hit the ship's engine section." The Persistence shook violently. Emergency alarms started. Screaming throughout the ship. Jin could hear people screaming in the passenger areas. "Hull breach in sections 4 and 5. Bo shouted over the noise. "We're losing power." More plasma beams struck the ship. The bridge lights went out, replaced by red emergency lighting. Jin could smell smoke and burning metal. "Bo, are you all right?" Jin called out. There was no answer. Bo was not moving at her station. The ship was breaking apart around him. Jin knew they had only seconds left. Through the broken windows, he could see the Zellan ships firing again and again. Jin thought about the 2,000 people on his ship. Families with children, doctors and teachers, going to build a new world. All of them would die because the Zelens wanted human technology. The final plasma beam hit the bridge directly. Jin KO and everyone else on the Persistence died instantly. Hours later, Admiral Crane sent his official report to the Galactic Council. Regrettable accident during routine inspection. The human vessel suffered a catastrophic system failure. The Zelen Empire offers standard compensation for this unfortunate tragedy. But on Earth, the military intelligence officers had received Jin KO's final transmission. They knew the truth. The Zelens had not made a mistake. They had committed murder, and humans never forgot murder. Commander Nasu sat in her office on the 15th floor of Earth's military intelligence. Outside her window, she could see the busy streets of New Seoul. People were walking to work. Completely unaware that their government was planning for war, Na had not slept well in 3 weeks. Every night she dreamed about the 2,000 people who died on the Persistence. She had listened to Captain Jin Ko's final transmission so many times that she could repeat every word from memory. Her office was covered with papers, charts, and computer screens. Red lines connected different points on a large star map. Each red dot represented a human ship that had suffered an accident near Zelen space. "Commander, you need to eat something," said Major Tae-woo as he entered her office. He was carrying a cup of coffee and a sandwich. "You have been working for 18 hours straight." Na looked up from her computer. Her eyes were red and tired. "I found something new, Tae. Look at this data." She pointed to her main computer screen. It showed a list of ships and their cargo manifests. Every ship that had an accident was carrying advanced technology. The Morning Star had quantum computers. The New Hope carried AI systems. The Golden Dream had fusion reactor designs. Tae studied the information carefully. "That cannot be a coincidence." "It's not," Na said. "The Zelens are hunting our technology. They wait until our ships are far from help. Then they attack and steal everything. They're in an accident." Na stood up and walked to the star map on her wall. "How many ships have we lost in the past 2 years?" 17 confirmed attacks, Tae replied. "But I think there might be more. Some ships just disappeared without sending any messages." Na felt anger building in her chest. The Zelens were not just stealing technology, they were murdering innocent people. Men, women, and children who just wanted to travel between planets or start new lives. "Commander," said a voice from the doorway. Communications Officer Yamin was standing there with a worried expression. "I have urgent news." "What is it, Yi?" "Our deep space listening stations picked up Zelen military communications. They're planning another operation, a big one." Na's heart started beating faster. "Tell me." You walked to the computer and typed in some commands. A new star map appeared, showing Earth's solar system. "They're targeting Earth's orbital shipyard. The day we launch our first dreadnought battleship." The room became very quiet. The orbital shipyard was Earth's most important military construction facility. It was where they built their most advanced warships. If the Zelens destroyed it, Earth's space fleet would be crippled.
"How many people?"
"Work at the shipyard?" Na asked. "About 50,000, Tae replied. "Plus thousands more who will be there for the launch ceremony." Na walked back to her desk and opened a secure computer terminal. She typed in several passwords and security codes. After a few minutes, a document appeared on her screen. The title, "Read Protocol 7, Classified." "What is that?" he asked. "Something our government has been preparing since we first met alien civilizations," Na explained. "Our leaders knew that someday we might face an enemy that was bigger and stronger than us." She read from the document. "Protocol 7 is based on human military history. When facing a superior enemy, you do not fight fair, you fight to survive. You use every advantage you have." Tae looked confused. "What kind of advantages?" Na smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who was about to do something terrible but necessary. "For the past 10 years, we have been building secret military bases throughout the galaxy. Hidden shipyards, weapon factories, supply depots. The aliens think humans are new to space travel. They do not know what we are really capable of. She stood up and walked to her window. Far above the city, she could see the lights of spaceships coming and going from Earth's orbital stations. The Zelans made a mistake when they killed the people on the Persistence, Na said. They think we are weak because we try to solve problems with talking instead of fighting. They do not understand that humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. Yu was looking at the Protocol 7 document on the computer screen. Commander, this plan is ... very aggressive. The Zelans chose to make this personal when they started murdering our civilians, Na replied. In human culture, when someone kills your family, you do not negotiate with them. You eliminate them. I picked up her secure phone and dialed a number. After a few seconds, someone answered. This is Commander Na Su. I need to speak with General Hobin immediately. Tell him the investigation is complete. It is time to activate Protocol 7. She hung up the phone and looked at her team. Major Wu, contact all our deep space assets. Tell them to prepare for military operations. Yi, I want you to monitor all Zelan communications. We need to know their exact plans. What about the Galactic Council? Tay asked. Should we report our evidence to them? Na shook her head. The council had their chance to deliver justice. They chose to believe Zelan lies instead of human evidence. Now they will learn what happens when humans handle justice themselves. Outside her window, the city continued its daily routine. But Na knew that everything was about to change. The Zelans had started a war without realizing it. Soon they would discover that humans were very good at finishing wars. President A. Rakim walked into the secure meeting room deep underground beneath the capital city. The room had no windows and thick steel walls. Only the most important people in Earth's government knew this place existed. Around the large table sat the people. Who would decide humanity's future? General Hobin, a man who had spent 40 years preparing for this day. Defense Minister Su Wan, who controlled Earth's secret weapons. Admiral Radong, commander of the space fleet that most people did not know existed. ARA had been president for only 2 years, but she had been briefed about humanity's hidden preparations. Ever since humans first traveled to other planets and met alien civilizations, Earth's leaders knew that someday they might have to fight for survival. Thank you all for coming, Ara said as she sat down. We are here because of the attack on the Persistence. Commander Nasu's investigation has proven that the Zelans deliberately murdered 2,000 innocent people. General Ho leaned forward. He was an old man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his time as a soldier. Madam, President, the Zelans think we are weak. They see humans as newcomers who do not understand how the galaxy works. They believe we will accept their lies and do nothing. They are wrong, said Defense Minister Su Wan. She was younger than the general, but just as serious. We have been preparing for this possibility for 10 years. Su Wan pressed a button on the table. The lights dimmed and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with thousands of small dots scattered throughout. Each dot represents a hidden military facility, Su Wan explained. Automated factories, weapon depots, fuel stations, and shipyards. All hidden inside asteroids or on dead planets where no one would think to look. Admiral Radong stood up and pointed to different areas of the map. We have been using robotic ships to transport materials and build these bases. The process has taken years, but now we have military infrastructure throughout Zelan space. They have no idea these facilities exist. President ARA studied the holographic display. There were so many dots that they looked like stars. How many ships can these facilities produce? More than the entire Zelan fleet, Admiral Ra replied. Our factories work day and night. They do not need rest or food. They only need raw materials, and space has plenty of those. General Ho activated another part of the display. Now it showed Earth's solar system, with hundreds of ships moving between planets. These are our visible forces, the ones the Zelans know about. Cargo ships, passenger vessels, a few patrol boats. They think this is all we have. The display changed again. Now it showed thousands of warships hidden throughout the galaxy. These are our real forces. The Zelans have never seen ships like these. Our technology is more advanced than anything they possess. President Ah felt a chill run down her spine. She had known that Earth was preparing for possible conflict, but she had not realized the scale of these preparations. "Madam President," said Suan, "we need your authorization to activate Protocol 7. Once we begin, there will be no turning back." Ara thought about the persistence. She had seen the passenger list: families with children as young as 5 years old, doctors carrying medicine to save lives, teachers going to educate colonists on new worlds. All of them murdered because the Zelans wanted human technology. "What exactly are you proposing?" Admiral Ra answered. "Complete elimination of the Zelan military threat. We will destroy every Zelan warship, every military base, every weapon factory. We will remove their ability to harm any human ever again." "What about their civilian population?" "Are not monsters," General Ho said firmly. "We do not target innocent people. But any Zelan who wears a military uniform or works in their war industry will be considered an enemy combatant." President Ara stood up and walked around the table. She looked at each of her advisors. These people had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity. "The Galactic Council received our evidence about the persistence," she said. "What was their response?" They said the evidence was not sufficient to prove deliberate action. Suwan replied with disgust in her voice. "They suggested we accept the Zelan compensation and move on." "Compensation," Ara repeated. "They think 2,000 human lives can be paid for with money." She returned to her seat and looked at the holographic display. All those hidden bases and secret ships represented years of planning and preparation. Humanity had been ready for this day. "In human culture," Ara said slowly, "when someone murders your family, you do not negotiate with them. You do not accept their apologies or their money. You make sure they can never hurt anyone again." Like she looked around the table one more time. "The Zelans chose to cross a line that should never be crossed. They killed innocent civilians to steal our technology. They thought we would be too weak or too scared to respond." Ara pressed her hand against a scanner on the table. Green light appeared, followed by a soft beeping sound. "Protocol 7 is authorized," she announced. "Show the galaxy what happens when someone murders human children." The room was quiet. For a moment, then Admiral Ra saluted. "It will be done, Madame President. The Zelans will learn that some species should never be underestimated." Outside the secure room, Earth looked peaceful. But deep in space, hidden factories began producing weapons of war. Admiral Vex Crane sat in his command chair aboard the Zelan flagship Domination. He was reading reports about human shipping routes, planning his next attack. The humans had many cargo ships full of valuable technology, and Crane enjoyed taking what he wanted. "Admiral," said his communications officer, "we have completed our patrol of Sector 7. No human ships detected." Crane smiled with satisfaction. The humans were learning to avoid Zelan space. Soon, they would be too afraid to travel anywhere without permission. Excellent. Set course for the Antarian border. "I want to inspect their trade vessels next." But as Crane reached for his drink, something impossible happened. Space around his fleet began to shimmer like water, and suddenly 12 human warships appeared from nowhere. The Zelan crew stared in shock. These ships were unlike anything they had ever seen. They were black as space itself and seemed to bend light around them. No alarms had detected their approach. They'd simply appeared. "Red alert," Crane shouted. "All ships, battle formation." But it was too late. The human ships opened fire before the Zelans could react. Beams of pure energy struck the Zelan vessels with incredible precision. Each shot found exactly the right place to cause maximum damage. Crane watched in horror as his escort ships exploded one by one. The human weapons cut through Zelan shields as if they did not exist. His own ship's defensive systems were failing rapidly. "How are they doing this?" he screamed at his tactical officer. "I don't know, sir. Their weapons are adapting to our defenses in real time." The human ships moved like living creatures, dodging Zelan fire easily. They seemed to know where each shot would be aimed before the Zelans fired. In exactly 3 minutes, Admiral Vex Crane and his entire fleet were dead. The human ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving only debris floating in space. Across the galaxy, the same scene repeated hundreds of times. Human stealth ships emerged from empty space near Zellan military bases, destroyed everything, and disappeared. The attacks were coordinated perfectly. Within hours, the Zellan military was being destroyed faster than they could report the attacks. Fleet Admiral Mi-Ra stood in Earth's secret command center, deep inside a hollowed-out asteroid. Around her, dozens of officers monitored tactical displays showing the entire galaxy. Each screen showed another successful attack on Zellan forces. Report. She ordered her aide captain, the Jun. All primary targets have been eliminated, the Jun replied. Zellan military command is completely offline. Our main fleet bases are destroyed. The remaining ships are scattered throughout the galaxy. Mi-Ra nodded with grim satisfaction. What about their government? The Zellan High Council is requesting emergency asylum from the Antarian Empire. They're claiming that humans are committing unprovoked aggression. Mi-Ra almost laughed. Unprovoked? They murdered 2,000 innocent people and called it an accident. Another officer approached. Admiral, we're receiving desperate communications from surviving Zellan commanders. They're trying to surrender. No surrender, Mi-Ra said firmly. They chose to target human civilians. The time for mercy has passed. On the main display, she could see real-time reports from across the galaxy. Human forces were using technology that seemed impossible. Ships that could travel instantly without using hyperspace lanes. Weapons that learned and adapted during battle. Artificial intelligence that coordinated attacks across thousands of light years. The galaxy was learning that humans had been hiding their true capabilities for years. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from dozens of species gathered for an emergency session. Many of them looked frightened. The humans had gone from seeming like helpless newcomers to the most dangerous military force anyone had ever seen, Ambassador Bin. Ho sat calmly at the human delegation table. He was a small, quiet man who had spent years listening to alien species treat humans like children. Today, his expression was cold as stone. This aggression must stop immediately, declared the Antarian representative, his voice shaking with fear. The humans are committing genocide against the Zellan people. Binho stood up slowly. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but everyone in the chamber could hear every word. The Zellans committed genocide when they deliberately murdered 2,000 human civilians, he said. Men, women, and children who were traveling to build a medical colony. The Zellans called it an accident and offered to pay compensation. He looked around the chamber at all the alien representatives. For months, this council debated whether the evidence was sufficient. You chose politics over justice. You chose to protect the Zellans instead of demanding accountability. Ambassador tried to interrupt. But surely we are not committing genocide, Binho continued. We are eliminating a threat. Any Zellan civilian who surrenders will be protected. But any Zellan military personnel will be destroyed without mercy. Cannot simply wipe out an entire empire. The Antarian protested. Binho's smile was terrifying. We are not wiping out an empire. We are removing a criminal organization that preys on innocent travelers. Any species that wishes to discuss peaceful relations with humanity may contact us. The Zellans are no longer eligible for negotiations. He sat down and refused to say anything more. No matter how much the other representatives shouted and pleaded. 6 months later, the last Zellan military base was destroyed. The Zellan Empire, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, simply ceased to exist. Their surviving civilians were relocated to refugee planets under human protection. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The great courtroom on Earth was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Many had traveled for months just to see justice finally delivered to the Zellans. In the front rows sat representatives from species that had suffered under Zellan attacks for hundreds of years. Chief Prosecutor Kudas stood before the court holding a data tablet. She was a small woman with kind eyes. But today, her voice was strong and clear. Behind her, sat 23 surviving Zellan military leaders, including several admirals and generals who had ordered attacks on innocent ships. "Your Honor," Q. Da began, addressing Chief Justice Yun Su, "we present evidence of systematic murder spanning over 2 centuries. The defendants called their crimes accidents, but our investigation proves they were deliberate acts of terrorism." The main screen in the courtroom displayed a star map. Red dots marked locations where ships had been destroyed. There were thousands of them. Each red dot represents a ship that suffered a convenient accident near Zellan space, Kuda explained. Ships carrying advanced technology, medical supplies, or scientific equipment were specifically targeted. An elderly vegan representative in the audience began crying quietly. Her people had lost 17 cargo vessels over the past 50 years. Each time the Zellans claimed engine failures or navigation errors, Kuda activated another display. We have recovered data from Zellan military computers. These documents show planning meetings where officers discussed which ships to target next. The evidence was overwhelming. Internal Zellan communications talked about removing technological threats and maintaining galactic superiority. Had made lists of which species had valuable technology and planned attacks accordingly. Former Admiral Zek Thorne, the highest-ranking surviving Zellan, tried to speak in his defense. "We were protecting galactic stability. These younger species with their dangerous technologies threatened the established order." Chief Justice Yunso looked at him with disgust. "You murdered families traveling to medical colonies. You destroyed ships full of teachers and doctors. You call this protecting stability? Those people were carrying fusion technology that could destabilize," Thorne began. "Those people were children," Kuda interrupted. "The Persistence alone carried 847 children under the age of 16. You murdered them to steal their parents' scientific equipment." Representatives from dozens of species watched as the evidence mounted. The Bellan delegate, whose people had lost 3 colony ships, stood up and shouted, "How many of our people did you kill?" Security guards had to restrain several alien observers who wanted to attack the Zellan prisoners. For too many years, these species had been too weak to fight back. Now they finally saw their oppressors facing justice. Kuda presented the final piece of evidence. "This is Admiral Vex Crane's personal log from the day he destroyed the Persistence. In his own words, he describes targeting human civilians to steal fusion drive technology." The recording played Crane's voice. "The humans think they can develop superior technology without consequences. Today we show them the price of threatening Zellan dominance." The courtroom fell silent. Even the Zellan defendants looked shocked. They had not known that Crane had recorded his real motives. Chief Justice Yun Su stood up. She was an older woman who had spent 30 years studying galactic law. Today she would make history. "The evidence presented is clear and undeniable," she announced. "The defendants are guilty of systematic murder, piracy, and crimes against sentient beings. The penalty for deliberately targeting human civilians is the complete dissolution of your government and military structure." The Zellan prisoners looked terrified. Several began begging for mercy. "Your colonies will be redistributed to the species you oppressed," Justice Yunsu continued. "Your military leaders will face execution. Your surviving civilians will be relocated under protective custody." But the trial was about more than punishing the Zellans. Earth was sending a message to the entire galaxy. President Abra Kim took the podium after the sentencing. Behind her stood generals and admirals representing Earth's true military power. "Today marks the beginning of a new era," she announced. "Earth hereby establishes the Terran Doctrine, which will govern our relations with all galactic civilizations." The main screen displayed a simple but terrifying message that would be broadcast to every planet in the galaxy. Any deliberate harm to human civilians or infrastructure will result in the total elimination of the responsible government. However, species that deal with humanity honestly will find us generous partners and protectors. The galaxy's power structure changed instantly. Species that had bullied smaller civilizations for thousands of years suddenly realized they were no longer the strongest predators in space. The Antarian Empire, which had conquered dozens of weaker species, immediately sent ambassadors to Earth requesting peaceful relations. The Gordek Confederation, known for enslaving other races, announced they were freeing all their slaves and wanted to negotiate trade agreements with humans. Within weeks, Earth received requests for protection from 47 smaller species. They offered trade partnerships, scientific cooperation, and mutual defense pacts. Earth accepted most of these offers. Human technology began flowing to allied species. Planets that had struggled with disease received advanced medical equipment. Civilizations that had been attacked by pirates found themselves protected by human patrol fleets. But some species learned the hard way that the Terran doctrine was not an empty threat. The Calic Raiders tried to attack a human medical convoy. 6 months after the trial, within hours, every Calic military base in the galaxy was destroyed. The survivors spent years rebuilding their civilization under human supervision. A year later, Ambassador Bin Ho stood before the Galactic Council. Again. This time, the other representatives listened respectfully when he spoke. "The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in centuries," he reported. "Piracy is down 90%. The trade between species has increased dramatically. Cooperation is flourishing." He paused and looked around the chamber. This is what happens when bullies are removed and honest civilizations are protected. The new order was established. Earth had become the galaxy's protector, feared by criminals. And, beloved by peaceful species, justice had finally come to the stars.